This is Smithy.tv.
Hey, you're watching and listening to 5 Questions with Jeremy Lalonde. Today I am with Matt Austin Sadowski. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Well, some people know me as Matt Sadowski. Some people know me as Matt Austin.
Is Austin a middle name?
There's a long story about Austin that I can go into. Yeah.
We'll make it. Don't make it too long.
Aren't we here for an hour?
Yeah. Well, if it takes an hour to tell that story, we're gonna.
We're about an hour. Well, because it starts in my childhood, really.
Go for it.
No, really? Am I doing this?
Well, what's the Coles notes of it?
The Coles notes of it is that I had a really, really awful first agent when I started out in the industry as an actor, and they said, okay, here, like, I got my headshot, I was ready to go out on auditions, and they're like, you have to come up with a different name. And I was like, why?
Because Sadowski was too long, or just hard
they
to
thought
pronounce?
like there wasn't the kind of actors that were getting like huge parts. Like Jake Gyllenhaal, when he started to become like a recognized marquee name, he didn't exist when I was acting when I was like 17. So they were like,
he existed.
He existed. Like he was on the planet, but no one knew about him. And they were like, Sadowski, like you don't really look Jewy, and for your last name,
our roster of Jewy clients is full. So.
Yeah, they're like this is the actual example. They said they're like Telly Savalas. He looks like a Telly Savalas. You look more. I was 16. I didn't know who the fuck Telly Savalas was.
Right. But could you even Google him at that point?
No. Yes. Wait. No. There was no Googling. And I was like, all right. And they're like, you need a name that is like kind of like white bready. And there was, I was a camp counselor at camp, and there was this one kid that always ran away from camp, and he would always come back only when I went to look for him as a camp counselor. And his first name was Austin. So he kind of endeared himself to me, and I was like, all right, how about Matt Austin? And they were like, perfect. Not only because that name just works for you, but because if your last name starts with an A and we can't argue for the list that you are in credits,
you go first.
I'll go first in alphabetical.
Nice.
Eventually, as my career flourished, people, like, I started to have relationships with people in the industry, and people would call me, and my name would show up as Sadowski. They'd be like, "Who's Sadowski?" Like, sometimes I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, it's you know, my parents." Something. I actually never really had a good story, and then the reason I started to use it was when I auditioned for Power Rangers, and I got a call back. There was like the head of Disney TV that was brought in to be at the callbacks. Mm-hmm. And I came in, and he said, okay, what's your name? I said, Matt Austin. And he said, bullshit. He was like, there's no way.
You look Jewy.
Yeah, he said, there's something about you. He's like, you're Jewish, aren't you? And I was like, yes, I am. He's like, what's your last name? I was like, Sadowski. He's like, you should start using that name. I was like, all right. He's like, because there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood, and if they don't know you're Jewish, they're not going to get cast.
Wow.
And I ended up getting cast. So
when they hear you're in Toronto, how's it work in Toronto for the Jewish mafia?
It doesn't work at all.
There you go. So you're going to go back.
Well, I'm interviewing on your podcast.
Wow. So. Wow. Fuck me then, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's the story.
That's pretty much the story.
So do you just swap, or it's become like a full? Does it use the Matt Austin Sadowski though, or it becomes?
Well, it just kind of like
they blend together.
I kind of just started to blend them together, because then it started to be like there's like 2 different people that exist in the world, and then I'm trying to slowly throw Austin into a grave. Yeah. I know. Are you now more confused than you were at the beginning?
No, I just wasn't sure actually. Believe it or not, I'm not a huge Power Rangers fan. This might surprise you to some extent.
I thought you were. I thought that's why I was here.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I don't even know what the No, I know what the Power Rangers are. Goldhar over here is a big Power Rangers.
Yeah. Well, apparently he watches them with his kids now.
He does. He makes his kids watch them with him. I think that's how it works.
Like all 20 seasons, he watches. He usually goes, "Those are Daddy's friends."
That's true, because there's a lot of Toronto actors on the show, or at least there were for a couple of
you
years.
And Chris feel it.
Do you guys get together for like a support group? Do you have?
We all kind of hate each other.
Do you really?
No. We're apparently we became a lot of the other seasons, especially when they started to shoot in New Zealand, cast a lot of local, and then I guess when Disney got it, they were like, we want to bring in some North Americans, and I don't know. gentrify the show. I don't know. And I don't work for them anymore, so I can say things like this. And
or ever again after this
exactly. And so my year's cast, there was 4 Canadians and one girl, Monica, from Florida, and we all gelled because we're all Canadian. We all like Tim Hortons. I don't know why we all gelled, just because we were Canadian, but there was a little bit of a synergy between us, and we're all in touch now.
That's nice.
More so than other casts, apparently, or as they tell me at the conventions.
That's funny. So what went so terribly wrong in your acting career that you switched over to directing?
Nothing went so terribly wrong. I mean, I wasn't being cast in the kind of roles that I wanted to be cast in, I guess. I think it was twofold. One of them was like my dad, who's an entrepreneur, is used to kind of adapting to the changing landscapes of business and what people want. Always still told me, like, you just got to knock on one door. Why are you knocking on 9? Like, why? Like, I write music as well, so like you want to be in a band, you want to be an actor, you want to be a director, you're a writer, you're a professional thumb wrestler. Like, what are you trying to do here? And I'd be like, you don't understand, man.
You don't get it, Dad.
I mean, I'm from Toronto, and you have to have your hand in everything.
And where's your dad live then?
No, he lives in Toronto. but he was looking at like the Hollywood thing of like the stories of people, like, of boys and girls packing up all their belongings and moving to LA, and they become international sensations overnight or whatever. And I was like, it doesn't work like that.
It's true though. You have to kind of diversify it.
I think and there came to a point where like I was only making money from acting and only losing money by making movies because I was spending my acting money on movies. But I was gaining kind of like more momentum and more notoriety as a filmmaker than as an actor. And there was a time where I was trying to switch agents and all this, and they kind of this agency, which is one of kind of, I guess, Canada's premier talent agencies, were like, we've read your scripts and we think you're like a great writer and a great director. We don't represent directors or writers, but that's where we think that you have the most potential. As an actor, you're kind of you're kind of somewhere in the middle ground area here. And the middle ground pays. There's like so many actors that you've never heard of that work every day of their life. But I was like, that's not really what I wanted. I kind of wanted to work with different actors and different directors, and I kind of figured out one time that instead of me, wishing to be their scene partner, it'd be much cooler if I could direct them in a scene. Mm-hmm. That's my story.
That's a long story.
Was it long?
No, it wasn't. I mean, that's the short version of the
was it? Okay. I can. Yeah. There's more.
So we apparently had a Twitter war. You were saying?
Yeah, you kind of completely derailed an entire thinking of my film. Okay, so the story is that I'm making a movie, my first real narrative, official feature debut, and for the application, it already had gone through like 7 name changes, but the name I had arrived in when I got the funding from Telefilm was The Next Morning. And I'd always kind of wavered a little bit, or I liked it a lot, but I was kind of like open to there being other names, and I'd wake up every morning and have a different name that could work. And
as you're pooping,
I sent a tweet that was like, the film's right now the film's called The Next Morning, but how about these for other suggestions? And people are like, I love number 2 or number 1 all the way. And then I got a tweet from Jeremy Lalonde that was like, none of them, they all suck.
Did I say the word suck?
I don't know if you said suck. I'll have to look up
the tweet history?
The tweet history to find out exactly what you said. But that's how it stabbed my
heart.
That's
how it felt in your heart.
Yeah. I didn't leave the house for a couple of days.
Wow.
But you backed it up and you said that...
Here's why they suck.
Yeah, here's why they suck. You said, like, they're all so generic. And in the landscape that we are in the indie film scene now, is that you have to kind of create a niche kind of on your title alone. Forget marketing, forget the poster. How does your title tie into the genre of your film? And I kind of argued back, being like, but my favorite films, you have no idea what kind of genre they're like. Before Sunrise or Annie Hall, which are the kind of culinary films for my movie, I argued, and you're like, yeah, but first starred Ethan Hawke and was a Richard Linklater film, and Annie Hall is from the mid
70s.
'70s.
You could call it anything.
Yeah, and so you're saying, and I think, and I said, well, like, what's a good name then? And you're like, Sex After Kids.
Boom.
You're like, boom.
I threw it down.
Yeah, I'll name my own movie.
Well,
but you're right,
yeah.
because like I know exactly what your movie's about. So since then, you've created a completely neurotic, paranoid filmmaker who's trying to come up with the perfect title that doesn't sound like it's a straight-to-video film.
I'm glad
but
I
at the
can
same
contribute
time,
in some way.
yeah. So
It's tough,
we have a few
man.
contenders, but it's really tough. And even I have a 4.5-year-old daughter, so I'm at playgrounds, and I'll ask random people. I'll be like,
That's the best place, man. Playgrounds are awesome.
Yeah, I'd be like, what do you think? Would you see if this is the way I proposed?
That sounded creepy when I said playgrounds are awesome.
Yeah, you did. And I'm watching other podcasts. You do say a lot of creepy things.
I don't know,
just to
but
go on a tangent
I'm
here.
okay with that.
We can go back.
Sometimes I'm
No,
on playgrounds
we're
and
gonna
I
talk about-
pitch. I'm gonna talk about me now, so you can just
All right.
stare at me. No, but I've
Water break.
when I talk to other parents, like, what do you do? And it's like, well, I've made a few films. Like, well, what's the last film you make? And when you say Sex After Kids in a playground, you get one of two responses. Either people are like, that's amazing, I can't wait to see that, or you're fucking creepy and
Right.
you're around other children right now.
Exactly.
But now we can go back to you.
And then when people say that to you? Do they
No,
say
it's a
you're
look.
fucking creepy?
It's a look.
You
Well, you
should-
either
okay.
get a laugh right away,
Yeah.
and you see that they're on the same wavelength of you and they're absolutely your audience, or you just like it gets awkward like instantly, and they just
Are you talking to moms or nannies?
anything. Moms, nannies,
Yeah.
dads, not children.
Yeah.
What movies do you make? Sex
Yeah.
After Kids, little girl. What's that? It's
That's a good way to introduce the idea of sex.
to little children. Yeah.
You know, the thing that your mommy and daddy don't have anymore.
Your
It's
mom.
actually, it's a great
not-
marketing tool. You should use.
Have kids doing it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I like that. So where are you at now for your title?
Right now, it looks like it's called "Pretend We're Kissing." What do you think?
Pretend we're kissing.
Mm-hmm.
I
But
don't-
what do you imagine? What world conjures in your delicious brain?
It makes me want to know more.
Cool.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah,
For
all
sure.
right.
If it makes you want to know more, but it also, you get the genre, it's a romantic comedy, or there's something to do with
Mm-hmm.
relationships in there. I like that a lot, actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
fair with you?
I'll contact my producers and say we have your approval and we can go forward.
Jesus Christ, you don't have to be mean about it. I never hated the title The Next Morning by
Yeah.
any means, because as a title, it's an interesting title. It's still it evokes a sense of curiosity. It's like, well, what happened the night before? There's stuff built into it. It was just more about just thinking of the landscape and looking at stuff myself. I've heard simple generic titles like that myself, and I'm like, ugh. If I was just a consumer going through titles, I'm never gonna watch that for my own stuff that I look at. And so I was just trying to be helpful, man.
No, you were because other people echoed the same thing when I had conversations, especially because the film would deserve to be on the shelf next to Before Sunrise,
Yeah.
After Sunset, Before Midnight, and all that. And they were like, you're in interviews or on your materials where you're talking about the film, you're going to be citing Before Sunrise, and then your film's called The Next Morning. It's a little I'm the
little too cute.
I'm the B movie version of it, and I don't want to be associated like that.
Well, that's the thing too. You don't want to be too homage-y.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
you don't stand out on your own, and that's why I like Pretend You're Kissing. It sounds more original to me,
Cool.
so I dig it.
Well,
Jeremy approved.
Let me ask you this: how do you feel? And I know how I feel, but I also know how my wife feels, and they're two different feelings. This is why I got the part on Power Rangers. If you watch the show, you'll understand. Kind of talks in circles. Anyway, how do you feel when the title of the film is said in a piece of dialogue in the film?
That's fine.
That's your reaction. That's fine.
That's fine,
You don't hate it or you don't love it. Some people hate. Some people love.
It's the kind of thing that's so specific to the film.
Right.
I think it works really well in something as good as it gets, and I think it can be terrible in something else. I can't think of a bad example off the top of my head, but it doesn't bother me. Sometimes it's cute when it comes up. There's. Here's the thing.
Obviously in a clear and present danger.
Was that in there?
It's a good day to die hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that I think the danger of it is always going to be that you're going to pull your audience out of the scene. You're
Mm-hmm.
even just for a hiccup. So the question is, does that matter to you?
Right. Apparently,
Your wife hates it?
women love it.
Oh, okay.
Like, all her friends are like, I love when that happens. I personally kind of don't like it. There's an episode of Family Guy where Peter Griffin is like just watching the show, and he's waiting and he's waiting and he's waiting, and then they say the name of the movie. He's like, yes! It happened! Everything makes sense. And they're making fun of that whole thing, and I kind of feel the same way. Like, it takes me a little bit out of it.
Takes you out of it a little bit?
But at the same time, I think there's other ways to do it in a cool way. I just saw Francis Ha. And it's not that big of a spoiler. Can I tell you? Have the title?
Yeah, sure.
So in the very last frame of the film, she's working
the fucking
on
ending.
Yeah,
it's not a spoiler at all. Here's the movie ends. Continue.
Are you sure?
Well, I guess. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen.
I don't think it's a spoiler alert.
Okay.
I really don't.
If not, you can.
I don't think for me. I was not watching the whole film going like, why is this movie called Frances?
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Right? Her name is Frances, and it's a comedy of her life. So I was like, that's why it's called Frances.
It's good enough for you.
It was never a riddle or a mystery to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it is to anyone else. So hopefully this isn't a spoiler. But she's putting like a name tag on her like New York style mailbox, and her full last name, which is Frances Gertzberger or whatever. It doesn't
Sadowski.
fit. Yeah, so she puts it. She has to keep on folding it until it says Francis Ha.
And
I was like, I was like, yeah, that's cute. That's a nice way to do it.
Thanks for ruining the ending.
Yeah, don't see the movie.
Now I won't enjoy that moment. I knew that was coming. Sex After Kids is in the movie. I think the title is in the movie, but it's in the middle of a sentence. And it's
right.
And it's said by Gordon Pinson, so you're going to enjoy it no matter what.
He says, like, life just isn't the same when sex after kids.
I'm not going to ruin it for you, man.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, I'm not that kind of an asshole.
Oh, fuck.
No, but it's so it's there. I had to think about that. I mean, is it in the title? But it is at the very end. There's something where it says in the middle of a sentence. So, but I don't think it's also the kind of movie where you're expecting to hear it.
Yeah. So that's what we're weighing.
I
kind
think
of
you're fine.
Yeah.
I think you're okay.
Right.
I don't think it would bother me either way.
What about here? I'll test the other tentative title on you.
Okay.
What do you think of Over Easy?
I think of like a diner.
Yeah.
It's like a greasy spoon.
Okay.
It's a romantic comedy. It's I don't know. Yeah. Pretend Kissing is better. Pretend We're Kissing is better.
Yeah.
Over Easy. It makes me think of like it takes place in a greasy spoon, which isn't a bad thing. I'd watch that movie.
Well, what if it did?
Does it take place in a greasy spoon?
Some of it.
Oh, well then maybe you're okay. But it still doesn't sell the relationship thing.
Yeah.
To me.
No, and your kind of feedback from before was like trying to be as specific as you can to like.
Unfortunately, that's.
And I think you're right. I think you're totally right. I don't think there'll ever really be a situation where like you call someone, you're like, here's 2 names of movies. Pick the movie you want to watch, because people will always see a poster or always hear something about a movie that helps the title make sense.
There's other stuff tied into it.
You're right. I think if you're just...
But sometimes you're scrolling through Netflix. I mean, sometimes the poster's there for sure. But it's like, if you're watching Netflix on the TV, the posters are so small.
Yeah.
That it's like, unless you're interested in the title, you don't blow up the poster sometimes.
Totally.
Unless you've got such a really striking image on the poster.
Well,
you want to hit him with both barrels, I think is what it is.
I think it ties into so many other things that are about how we watch and where we're watching movies now. And my friend Jonas Chernick, who did My Crazy Awkward Sexual Adventure, when it got sold in the States, they changed the name to Unawkward. Yeah. Only because then it's the first thing listed when you check out new releases. And apparently, because of that simple little title change, they increased their viewer VODs by like a lot. It's done really, really well. I think it's done really well because the movie's good. Yeah. I think it's done really well because people checked it out.
It's there. We're going to change ours to After Kids, Sex. No. but
I don't have a witty retort to that, but
no.
We can work on it. You can change your title. I think you should. It's not really working for me.
It's not a great title, yeah.
It's
tough. It's just an S, but we'll take it. The word sex is also there, so if you Google sex on your Netflix, it'll come up.
When you first came out with the title and I saw the campaign that you were building and everything about the film, I think it was right when, I guess, Sex with Friends
Or Friends with Kids.
Or Friends with Kids, or one there was a bunch of things that came out with similar titles, and then that came out. So I kept on referring to your title, which I think people might.
Sex with Friends
or Sex with Kids, which is awful. You don't want that to happen.
I made that bad joke, and I've been wrist slapped for it, so we don't make that joke anymore.
Okay, yeah.
That's
what I assume, because I think people. It's a weird thing. It just happens out of your mouth.
When we had our cast and crew screening at the Royal on the marquee, they almost put up Sex with Kids on the marquee.
That would have been a disaster.
That would have been not great. Well, it's a cast and crew screening, so people were coming anyway. It wasn't like the theater for the release did it. Yeah, that would be terrible.
It's the marquee.
Yeah, they didn't do it. We caught it
driving and walking by.
Yeah, we would have a different lineup outside the door. That's for sure. And then people going, "Is this a trap? Is this entrapment? You can't."
Is this Nightline?
Yeah, you guys cops.
Nightline.
Experiment that out. It's tough though when you get feedback, and in your heart you don't want to listen to it because you like where you're going, but all at the same time there's this little voice in you going, maybe they're right. It
can be arbitrary though.
I got that recently on something I'm writing. That's just like,
what was the note?
It was just essentially it's hard to say without going into the specifics of the story, but it was just the kind of thing that was like, take it in this direction. And part of me was like, well, that means I have to rebuild it from the ground up, and I'm not interested in doing that. But then it was like, but still, it's stay there and stay there and stay there. And I'm like, and now I'm kind of exploring it more now that I've taken more time. But it was the kind of thing that it messed me up for a good 2 or 3 days.
Oh yeah, there's notes I've had from years ago that I was like, I'm not listening to that. Then a year later, I ended up doing it anyway. And I'm like, they were right.
I wasted a year. Yeah. Want to do some questions?
All right.
You have to pick out and you have to hand it to me because I might have to modify it. But you're like a hybrid, so most questions will work for you.
I'm a hybrid.
But you do more than one thing. You're not just an actor. You direct. And you do music. Apparently, I didn't know that. Yeah. Do you have an album out?
Do you need score?
Do you? Is that what you do? Okay, so here's this totally works for you. So this is like an actor-writer hybrid question.
Okay.
What's the difference for you? When it comes to creating a character that you're creating, as opposed to creating a character as an actor that someone else has initiated?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Who wrote these?
I did.
Wow.
I'm a hybrid.
All right. What's the difference?
And maybe in your approach. Or
I think that. I mean. They, meaning teachers and other filmmakers and other actors, will tell you that it should be one and the same. Even if the character's already kind of created for you at the audition stage, if you get cast, you should always be coming with your own kind of sense of the character. You can, I was always taught that you should kind of. You take the audition material at the audition stage and you kind of black out any identifying characteristic marks of this line is said shouty.
So
this line is
I spend a lot of time thinking about and caring about.
Totally.
You just black it out.
Yeah.
Nope.
And you just stick with the dialogue and you interpret the dialogue and you give your character the complete own backstory. And maybe it will be really wrong, or maybe it'll be so different that it brings that character to life, and no one will really know that.
I'll make a choice, right?
But yeah, it's making a strong choice that has nothing to do with what the writer intended, which is weird. But it can end up being really good. At the same time, though, from the other side, I spend a lot of time getting into my characters' heads, so I don't want that to happen with an actor that just completely bypasses any sort of identifying character traits that the character has. But I think, I guess the difference is that one is a character being played by an actor, and one is a character on a page.
You're creating, yeah. I think that's interesting, though. What I like about that, it depends on what kind of actor does it, too. Because if it's the kind of person that just wants to go in and just create something off the wall, it's not going to work. Like, and unless it's so unique and interesting that the writer is flexible enough and wants to change it. But at the same time, I mean, you got to think that even though you're blacking it out, you're still going to try to play to the heart of the character and the essence of the character.
Well, if the writer has done their job, it should be in like just kind of the subtext of every piece of dialogue that happens, how much the character speaks or not, or how little the character speaks, the kind of words that they use. I think it can't work all the time. Like if you've written a character that's a complete kind of introvert, and an actor comes in and he plays them like, you know, he's the class clown.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. But I've seen it done where in a case like that you'd be like, huh, like that does create an interesting dynamic because the character is so afraid of the world, but that's how he plays to the world. Yeah, this projection. So you're like, when you're seeing actor after actor come in and play like an introverted, quiet character, and he's talking like this, and then one character comes in and he's playing it like, you know, he's got some like a screw wrong and he's loud, but he can't say anything that your dialogue doesn't have him say. So he's still stuck to the character in that way. I think it can create some interesting new thoughts on how the character is.
I mean, the one thing too, just from the other side of the audition table, that's always interesting when someone comes in and does something different. Because suddenly it's like you wake up. But then there's always the battle of, well, did I like it because it was good? Or did I like it because it was different? And that's why you videotape auditions. Because your instincts in the room are sometimes terrible.
Yeah, I think even watching them back, it's hard. You can argue that all the time. You can say, like, but that one was so different. And that guy that came in looks completely different than I imagined the character. But this guy hit every emphasis of the dialogue. He looks like the character. Like, I don't know. I think it's difficult. I think as an actor, first becoming a writer, becoming a director, I've always, like, I'm sure you do it too, but I think I probably bring a different bit of background. That's why they always say, or at least I hear a lot that directors and writers should audit acting classes, just to see, not to really see actors work, but to understand the process of how they personalize material, or how they.
I did some acting in high school.
Yeah,
I wasn't particularly amazing.
It doesn't matter as long as you kind of get it. Because when I write, and you probably do the same thing, is like I play every character. Yep. I don't know. Like, sometimes I put on voices. I get, like, you know, when you see animators and they're like, they look in a mirror to kind of get like the facial expression of the character, or to, you know, it's a sad moment, they drop their shoulders and they learn it. I do much the same thing when I'm writing dialogue. Is I get into the head of this manic character versus, you know, this character that is trying to rob a bank versus whatever, and I play the parts as I write.
I go for walks and work out dialogue. I'm absolutely certain everyone on my street probably thinks I'm schizophrenic.
Yeah, I say dialogue all the time as I'm walking down the street. And I mean, the good thing about that is now there's all these Bluetooth things, so people don't know if you're wearing.
You just wear it, put it in your head, and people assume you're talking. That's funny. I don't say it really loud. I kind of mumble, but then it's just like I'm never present wherever I am. I'm always like, if I'm working on something, it's always like I'm in that scene, and I'll be like pushing my kid in the playground, and then.
Do you also? I'm like totally the same way, but I also listen to a lot of people's dialogue and conversation steal a lot.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, and then like you're saying, especially if you're doing that around playgrounds, you look like a total creep, and you're just sitting there with your pad of paper.
Your notebook. I bring my notebook everywhere, but I also, it's like, I found that I use the iPhone and I voice memos sometimes work nicely because it's quick. But thieve everything that I can. Because screw other people.
Yeah.
They love it when it comes back and they're like, "Oh, I said that.
Yeah.
Where's my credit?"
Exactly. I usually tell, like, if someone gives me like a real nugget, and I'm like, that exchange we just had is going in. Like, I tell them, like, straight up, don't be shocked. Like, I'm going to. Nothing's original. There's a famous quote of someone about you steal. Every filmmaker steals.
Oh, it's like good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
There you go.
It's half the conversation in my house. I go, I'm going to tweet that. My wife goes, you tweet that, I'll kill you. Put it in a screenplay. And that's how it goes. And that way it's like, there's at least a layer of separation.
Yeah. All right.
Number 2?
Do I get to ask you questions?
No. No, that's not how it works. Start your own podcast, Matt. Jesus Christ. You can maybe at the end. I chime in a little bit. Do you have a bucket list? If so, what's the most interesting thing on it?
Do I have a bucket list?
It's just something
I've
accomplish.
actually been really lucky that I've done a lot of things I would put on the bucket
You're a
list.
Power Ranger, so that's my number one.
I always wanted to be a superhero. I became a superhero.
Is the Power Ranger
Skydive.
superhero? Does that
Well,
fall into? I'm just curious. I'm not asking to be like
No.
judgmental.
I actually, I never really thought of it that way, but like,
they have costumes.
there's a long story of like why I wanted to be an actor, and it all started because I was like a diehard Superman fan, and I think every 6-year-old little boy probably is. But I took it further. My grandmother used to like knit me capes and buy me leotards.
A knitted cape is a terrible cape.
Yeah, but like
No
I didn't.
offense to your grandmother.
I didn't know. Yeah, God rest her soul.
Oh, Jesus, I went there. Jesus, let's take a moment.
But like I was diehard, and the famous family stories. You know, my mom said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be Superman." And she was like, "You can't be." And I was like, "Don't tell me what to do." And I threw my milk in her face. That part didn't happen, but she said, "Hey, you can't be Superman. But that's an actor. That's Christopher Reeve. He's playing a part." I was like, "Oh, well, if you get to." That's what you get to be when you're an actor. That's what I want to be. So when I've told this story before...
So you're 6 years old and your grandmother's crushing your dreams.
Totally.
Okay.
Actually, that was my mother who crushes my dreams on a daily basis. Hi, Mom. When I've told this story before, because people say, "Why did you become an actor?" Blah, blah, blah. People have been like, "Well, you did become a superhero. You're a Power Ranger." Other people started to say it, so I was like, "Yeah, you're right." But I never.
Say it's not about how. Let's go.
I wear a costume. Yeah. What do you think?
Power Rangers superheroes.
Absolutely. I mean, and to be honest, I mean the effect that it has on my kid, who's only 4.5. I mean, he's watched 20 seasons of this show.
Jesus Christ, I haven't watched 20 seasons of any of them.
Yeah, he's watched every single episode.
Yeah.
Like they're superheroes.
They're a superhero. There you go.
All right. Nice.
And they have giant effing robots.
Yeah.
So how can you not be any cooler than that?
There you go. So you've been.
So I've done that. I've bungee jumped. I've skydived. I had a kid. A kid was on my bucket list.
You bungee jumped with the child.
No, but that would be awesome.
Don't do that.
No, have you done? Is that what you're taking?
I don't recommend it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, unless you don't like the child.
Okay.
Ensure the hell out.
I think
of
she'd
first.
be into it.
The kid would love it. The kids are fearless. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, she'd be awesome.
How would Joy feel about you bungee jumping with them?
Well, since I've been married, I'm not allowed to do anything on my bucket list, pretty much.
Oh,
because I've done it all.
I need my backup. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "You've done it. Like, you don't need to do it again.
Your life's over."
I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm trying to think. Is there anything on there? I'd love to race I'd love to race a car. I'd love to do like a NASCAR kind of thing.
You can do that, can't you? Like fantasy camps, or like there's like I think you
Yeah.
can actually like pay to do that.
But I want to like it.
I want someone to
pay
race
me.
NASCAR.
Yeah, I want to race NASCAR.
I think that's a career trajectory. I don't think you can just jump in and be in a NASCAR.
My father would
race.
totally disagree, but maybe it's time for a change.
The NASCAR?
Yeah,
You're
sure.
gonna switch over. Good luck with that. Let me know how that turns out.
It's a transferable skill. Directing to NASCAR driving, you're moving at a fast pace. You have to bob and weave. You're always trying to get ahead of the other guy. There's a whole bunch of.
I would love to see a whole NASCAR race. You've got like Fincher, Woody Allen, Cronenberg, and Regoyan. Who else could be in there? Can you imagine that NASCAR race?
It'd be pretty awesome. It'd be a mess.
It would be a mess.
It would be a mess.
One lap. Whoever gets just
Yeah.
one lap. Just do
All
one
right.
lap, and if whoever wins the first lap, that's it. It's over. Let's get that started. Directing NASCAR race.
I'd also like to return a punt. Like and it could be Argos.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to
You catch it and you run.
just catch it and bolt.
Did you ever play football?
And I did, and I didn't have what it takes to be like a professional athlete, but I oh man, I'm just gonna leave
Going
this.
back and forth. That's just going back and
It's
forth.
just completely
It's love. It's all
buzzkill.
fun.
I'm working out though. Okay.
Yeah.
I've started to train. I mean, I know we don't know each other very well, but you don't see that.
That's true.
My
So,
chest is
you're
like expanding,
out.
and
I
yeah.
started doing hot yoga recently.
Really?
Yeah.
And
It's hot. Okay, the first time I almost passed out because I didn't realize how you're supposed to breathe properly.
Right.
So it was like the room was like, it's getting really foggy in here. Is this normal? And I was like, no, I'm getting ready to black out.
I think it's weird when you have to do something and have to learn how to breathe. I think breathing is like, it's just a normal thing. You don't.
Well,
you shouldn't have to like learn how to breathe a different way to do a different sport.
Well, the first the first pose you do, you breathe in your nose and out your mouth or something like that. And then after that, it's supposed to be just your nose. And nobody fucking mentioned that. So I was doing both, and so you can breathe deeper through your nose, and I've got a bit of a belly. So the mouth, your things are pushing up. You can tell, yeah. So things are pushing up, and so you don't have the lung capacity that you should.
Yeah.
But once I knew the nose thing, I've been fine.
So you've gone back.
I've gone back.
So you like it?
Yeah, it's good. You know what it is for me? It's just like and you're probably the same way, where it's just like you're always in your head, and you can't turn thoughts off, and you're always thinking, you're scheming.
That's why I can't do yoga. Period.
And that's why it's great for me, because it's like it forces me for an hour and a half to not be able to think about anything but that, because you just have to focus on that. And so it's been good for me for that, to be able to like turn my head off, because I can't otherwise.
Have you tried unhot yoga?
No, I've only done the hot.
Because in unhot yoga, that's what I've always found, is that I can't.
Oh, do the hot yoga, because you're
I can't. Like they're telling me to relax, and I'm just thinking of a bagillion other things.
Where do you live in the city?
Like St. Clair West area.
We're in opposite ends. So if you live in the east end, we can do hot yoga together.
All right,
but we don't.
But is there a lot of like hot sweaty chicks in your class?
There's a lot of guys like me too.
Yeah. Usually hot sweaty guys go to where hot sweaty girls are.
Yeah. But I guess. But
Yeah?
again, it's just like you're just so. I mean, I guess you can turn around and scope everyone else out, but you're kind of just into what you just have to focus on what you're doing.
I'll try hot yoga.
Yeah, if it's a concentration thing, I think the hot yoga makes you have the concentration.
Okay, nice. Yes.
Question 3. Don't make a career out of it. It's not a lot in there.
I'm just kidding.
Being a dick. Alright. It better be a good one. Okay. What music video would you like to star in?
What music video?
It could be one that already exists, or it could be like a song that you would just like to be in that music video for.
Well, if I'm gonna go with current,
I'm not hip at all, so
oh,
I probably
okay.
won't even know you're
Let me know. I won't go current then. My final answer will be November Rain.
Oh, amazing! Like, I know that video.
Yeah, that video is an awesome video.
Would you want to be in the video as it is, or something new?
I'd want to be Axel.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just want to stop and watch that music video right now.
This is the point where you guys should put that video into the mix
in?
somehow.
I did.
Yeah.
I did that at a piano recital. That song.
Really?
When I was like 12.
It's one of the first like cover songs I learned how to play on the piano too.
Look at us.
Yeah. Boom. Ding.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
He's gonna do it. He's an air piano.
No, nobody air piano. That's what I was gonna say.
Not like Matt Austin.
Yeah. I just whip it. Yeah, people are at clubs and they're. I just whip out.
Ding, and not even like ding, ding, ding. Not even like big like.
The reason that people don't air piano a lot is because you look like you're doing a monster mash or something.
Oh.
And it's so like I think.
Oh, fair enough.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing the noise. No.
But you don't. People
when
listen.
You air guitar, you make the like you don't just do that. That would be silly.
You air guitar with noise if there is no other noise.
That's only in like a TV show when like they put it in post and they make it sound cooler. People when they air guitar in real life, I think they don't. I don't know.
No, when you listen to a track.
I air accordion a lot, but I don't air guitar.
I can see that.
That's not even an accordion.
What was that?
I don't know. Let's do
that. Was like.
Let's just move on from that.
Piccolo.
Piccolo.
I don't know.
That's with it's like a flute thing, isn't it? Piccolo? Am I way off?
I just wanted to say the word piccolo. I actually don't know what
Now
it
you've
is.
done it.
Finally, that was on my bucket list.
There you go.
See how I try and work everything back to the other.
I like. Everything goes back in cyclical. I like it.
Oh, I
You
keep
got,
on.
you got dimples.
I
Do you have
keep
dimples on
on-
both sides or just the one?
This
turn
one.
away.
This one kind of wants to come out.
That one's a good. It's a good one. I
Thanks.
pointed that out now.
You like me.
I do like you. You don't think I like you?
What does this? What does this say? No, I think you like me. Read the damn question.
Okay. If you could be any literary villain, who would it be?
Literary, assuming I
It doesn't
read.
have to be literary. Any villain. If you could play a villainous character, who would you like to play? I guess an established character. Go with that.
An established character.
A character that already exists. Jesus Christ.
No, I understood what established character meant. A villain. I'd like to be. I don't know his full name, but Johnny from The Karate Kid.
It's not. I watched the Karate Kid as a kid, but I don't really remember.
It's like the blonde guy.
Okay.
That he crane kicks at the end. He's just a total asshole.
You'd
See,
want that?
I never got a chance to play villainy kind of things.
To play a douchebag.
Yeah.
You'd be so good at that.
Thank you so. That's what I was trying to tell casting directors forever.
It's like if I could just be me,
Yeah.
you would.
No one ever let me be me.
I do like
Yeah.
that. I'm just saying.
I know.
Giggles.
People are gonna watch this back and be like, I think they actually do not like each other, and you're totally wrong.
We're playing footsies right now.
Yeah.
The whole time. I mean, villains are more interesting to play, I would assume, right?
I think every actor wants to play a villain. It's like you're just there's no rules. Like there's no ethics, there's no morals. There's like every actor likes to play the game. Like, what do I want in this scene? Mm-hmm. And I think when you're not the villain, it's kind of harder because it's a lot more personal. It's like, I want to protect my loved ones. I want
Twig.
Yeah.
Twig. I made that up.
But I knew what you meant.
Yeah. We're good.
Whereas when you're a villain, like, I want to rule the world. You can't play anything like bigger than that, or I want to kill that person. Is a much bigger action to play than like I want to love that person.
I think
You're gonna argue?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean I'm gonna expand upon that.
Okay.
Where I think what's interesting with why Jesus, that was a slurp and a half. Did you catch that? Was it good? I'm gonna turn that into do a techno remix of that.
Okay.
We're gonna
Auto tune it.
Yeah, we're gonna auto tune it.
This is my new phone ring.
Anyway, back to I think that's what's most interesting about television right now is that most of the leads are able to be villains as well as heroes. Mm-hmm. And then that's how you get a longer, interesting story out of it. I mean, there's ones that are really, really obvious, like Dexter and Walter White and those kind of characters. Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini, a little tear for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, but even like characters like Edie Falco's character, Nurse Jackie, whatever. Like she's a hero, but it's like she does a lot of shitty things, a lot of selfish things. And I think when you're having a character that's telling a long story,
I totally agree.
You're allowed to do that because you're able to redeem them in small bits.
Have you been watching True Blood at all?
I do. It's like one of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah. So are you watching?
Yeah, I'm caught up.
Okay, so spoiler free. The arc that
Eric's amazing.
has is like and Bill.
Yeah.
Like is like it's crazy
How
to be an actor.
They swapped those two characters.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So like every time I watch, I'm like, how much fun are those guys having to
Well,
be
Bill
with?
was such a non-interesting character to me
I hated
until
him.
he started to be a dick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm in. And Eric was always interesting, but he's even more interesting now that you're seeing the other side of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Those two were great.
Well, TV's like an actor's playground right now. It never used to be, but now with all these kind of serialized shows, it's pretty awesome for them to play in and have an arc that lasts for like 6-7 years. Yeah.
It's
crazy.
And you can speak. I mean, you don't act anymore, right? Like,
Not
you're
really,
kind of-
no.
And I guess that's the danger is that it's either you get that chance where you get to play for 6 or 7 years, but then isn't there also that fear of like getting stuck inside of a not great show?
Totally.
For 6 or 7 years, we go. I'm just gonna do it. We keep rolling. We're good. You know what I mean? It's like that danger that of a show that's maybe popular, but not great, and not a super interesting character. But you're kind of, I mean, the pay is good. You need money.
Yeah.
As an actor, I assume there's a lot of that as well.
Oh, there's
more of that.
There's more of that. I'd probably say it's probably like 70% of actors working on long-standing shows right now hate the character that they're playing. But it's so dicey. I mean, to even think about that when you're getting
paid on a regular basis.
Paid on a regular basis to be a part of something that's popular and watched when so many things aren't popular and are not watched. Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know, start a knitting company or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm dealing with as a person who's trying to like create content for television. Now it's just like I get locked into. I have a really hard time getting excited about a television idea because I'm like, it's got to be something I'd want to do for potentially a couple years because otherwise, it's not worth it, right? Because I'd be the unlucky bastard that would like just throw down a random idea and someone would pick it up and I'd be fuck. And I'd be stuck into it other than having something I labored over and loved. It's like no one wants it. Like, that's more my luck.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say for the record and put it into the costume set, I'll take anything.
Matt Austin's a whore.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You prefer Austin or Sadowski? Like, what do you prefer?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't give a shit?
I don't really care as long as you get my first name right. Like I don't really care.
Complicated first name to hit.
I think since since I've been a dad, I'm more partial to Sadowski because there's something about like
the connection to the kid.
Yeah, my connection as a family and all that. But I just don't really care. You can call me that guy too.
That guy. Yeah. Hey you. We'll do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Last question. You were the cook that time. I appreciate that.
No problem. I'm pretty cognizant of time.
I guess. You haven't intently made your first film yet, but I can make this work. What do you find the differences between, like, say, prepping or getting ready to do a short versus prepping and getting ready to do a feature?
Well, to answer that question, I have done a kind of feature before.
I'm sorry.
No. I don't really talk about it. Yeah, well, no, I did this other thing that's like kind of like the child that I put away and is chained in the basement. You never see or hear about until years later. Someone unearths. Yeah, everyone has one of those. I speak in commonality.
They don't really.
This is a bad metaphor that I just got to stop right now. Yeah. Anyway, I did a film that was called Most Likely To, or is called Most Likely To, and the reason that I don't put it on the feature film list or shelf or whatever you want to call it is because it was shot the same way I would do any kind of shorts. Right. It was to you, I think you'd be like, oh, that's cool because we shot a feature in 3 days. All the dialogue was improvised, but the script itself was completely written. Like every scene was written.
Yeah, you had an outline.
Yeah, it's basically like a really extrapolated outline with no dialogue, shot in 3 days. It played festivals, it's aired on TV, but it's an experiment. That's what I've always viewed it.
But it was successful. I mean, you got it out there.
Yeah, I got it out there, and it gave me a real good opportunity to work with actors and make to really, as a director, get actors to trust me. Right. I think for a lot of directors especially, I think every actor wants to be a director. I think there's a few that are like, no, I'm not interested, but I think they all have ambitions of directing. I don't know how professional they want to do or if they want to do little shorts.
You're just sick of being told what to do.
Yeah, so you meet a ton, and especially like we were talking about before, where you're like, well, what do you do? I'm a writer, actor, director, musician, whatever. I meet a ton of actors, and I'm like, what do you do? They're like, oh, I'm an actor, and I also direct some things. And I'm like, okay, like good luck with that, because it's hard to get the trust.
Yeah.
Because if you're a director, there's something about that where people are like, he's a director, he directs. I trust that. I've seen his work. Maybe I haven't seen his work, but he's the one helming the ship. And then when you're like, I'm an actor and come out to this thing that I direct, I think you need to get the trust. You need people to trust you as a director. They could trust you as an actor. That doesn't mean you're going to be a good director.
Yep.
And probably and vice versa. You don't see a lot of directors that are like, I want to act. Maybe
like cameos, like
Kevin Smith or like
Cronenberg
Martin Scorsese
did a part in Last Night.
But they don't don't really care
No.
about it, right? So,
Jesus, I think Cronenberg cared.
well,
Are you trying to say Cronenberg doesn't care?
I don't think Cronenberg sends a headshot and resume out for
No,
acting
that
parts.
doesn't happen. Yeah, fair enough.
But
He wasn't sitting around waiting by the phone going, I really hope I
yeah,
get
he's
this
like,
Don McKellar
hey
film.
mom, yeah, I'm on hold. No, I didn't get the part. Oh, I'll just write something for me.
It's okay, Davey.
So I think that's what that project helped me do. It helped me get trust in the industry. Oh yeah, he can direct, and from other actors that like yeah he put his money where his mouth is. But this is the film that I actually don't really know what to do. I mean, I guess
You're scared shitless all the time.
I'm scared shitless all the time. It's going from like a 3-day shoot to a 15-day or more shoot is like it's. You know, people are like, well, just look at it as like, you know, you're getting, 9 extra days of shooting your short. It's like, I don't know if I can approach it like that. That's not good advice. We're not friends anymore. I completely unfriended them on Facebook.
Good idea.
But you've done it. So what do you think the difference is?
The difference between doing a short and a feature?
Yeah.
There's more nuances in a feature.
Yeah.
I mean, not every scene is a turning point. To some extent, but you're telling a longer story, obviously.
Yeah, but that's the obvious. So what's the?
Well, that's the obvious, but in the same time, it's like you want to make sure that you're helping your actors track the emotions of their character, especially if you're shooting out of order. It's like there's more scenes, and so you want to make sure that it's like, their highest point isn't in the middle. That they're saving something for whatever, depending on what it is, right? You just want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're not repeating yourself in scenes visually as well. I mean, that's the other thing too for me is making.
That's a great comment. Yeah.
Is that it's like if you're shooting a 5-minute movie, then it's like there's a good chance of you repeating yourself visually. You're going to change things up more because in theory things are happening quicker. But with the feature, you can just, if you're not careful, you can just get into a really kind of reduced palette visually if you're not conscious, especially if you're shooting in like the same locations over and over again. And so that was the thing for me, especially with Sex After Kids, knowing that because it was kind of like shooting a bunch of shorts in a way. Because
of your ensemble,
it's an ensemble, yeah. So in a way, it was kind of like doing a bunch of shorts, but they all interconnect. So it's still, I mean, it's not a series. It's not like an anthology film. It's a feature, but at the same time, we're in the same locations for a lot of like the individual stories. So for me, it was making sure that they're at least doing something different and that kind of stuff. But in terms of prepping for a feature versus a short, I guess it's like training for a marathon versus training for a sprint, a 100-meter dash, right? It's just you've got to make sure, especially if you're shooting everything consecutively. I mean, one of my biggest rules with myself is just try to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are, more talented than you are, and then they're going to bring something to it.
Yeah,
and you're doing that. I mean, you get like Gordon Willis is attached to like help.
Yeah, he's like the official cinematography advisor,
which is amazing.
I was like,
how big was your erection the day that he said yes?
Pretty hard. Well, that wasn't your question. Yes, yeah, he said
how
big.
But
so I know it's the same answer. I guess.
I appreciate that you're trying to mask the size of your penis by just saying.
Thanks for letting me get away with it as well.
Moving on.
No, that was a really big win, and
is he coming down? Is he gonna be on set and stuff, or just
he's a little older?
Yeah,
I
know.
So we're not sure if he's gonna make it down. That's the plan, but I'm not officially saying come out and meet Gordon.
Because I did send. I think I sent you a message when we did it announced. I was like, that's amazing. He's really old. Because I thought you attached him to be your DP, which.
You know what?
Huge coup.
That would have been awesome, except we're shooting digitally, and he has a full hate on for all digital. And but the cool part about it is that he, through his hate, through the adversity, we're having a triumph in our kind of approach, which is that one of his big things was that like back in his day, cinematographers were a bit like sorcerers.
Yeah.
Directors didn't know anything about shooting. I think we all we shoot on our phones, we shoot on DSLRs. I actually have shot some of my shorts before. I know I don't know what I'm doing
before.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing in terms of getting by. I would never call myself a cinematographer.
Yeah, but you could, in a pinch, you could do it if you had to.
Sure, and his thing was that that's killed the kind of magic of being a great shooter, and he wasn't suggesting shooting it like they did in the early days when it was like when the director couldn't even like really watch a monitor that was accurate. But his suggestion was to kind of like really shoot everything in camera in the same kind of way that they had to then, where like sure you could get to your color mix and you could adjust, you know, magenta and whatever, but like don't think about, you know, diffusing light in post. Like do it with filters now. Do it with the different lenses you shoot on. And so we're going to approach it the same way, because what I'm going for is a very kind of like romantic 70s-ish vibe.
Well, and you're not going to have the budget to do it in post.
Yeah, I'm not going to have the budget to do it in post, and I can't shoot it on film because no one processes film anymore, and we're doing a lot of night exteriors. So
are you shooting Alexa or are you shooting Red?
We're planning to shoot Alexa.
It's better than the light.
Yeah.
Look at us being all nerdy.
Yeah. So and you know what? I hate that I even know that information. Like
you hate that you know it.
Well, I think that this knowledge of all the different crafts has kind of hurt people being craftsmen. You know, I think film there's so much good that has come out of film being do it yourself, but I think there's a lot of bad too, because there's not like the craft isn't the same.
Yeah, but you know what? For like, I mean, guys like us, here's the thing. I don't disagree at all, but I also think that knowing how there's just an interesting article I read last night with David Lynch saying, I don't think I'm ever going to make another movie.
I saw that.
Yeah, because no one will give me money, and theaters are only for big giant movies now, and that's not the kind of movies I make. And so my argument is almost that as things like the way we make movies has to be small. Like we have to work with small crews.
Yeah,
we have to work. So I think it's like you almost have to. You don't have to be able to do everything, because you definitely want a team. And like I said, you want people that are smarter than you can help you. But I think if you have an understanding of what they do, it just helps you plan. Totally. What we can do and what you can, you know what I mean? So it's like, because I'm not going to be an expert. I'm not going to know how to stitch and all that kind of stuff. But it's like I don't know. I think you need to be a little bit of a master of all to some extent.
I'm in the same boat. I don't disagree, but I can see how I'm also not going to tell Gordon that he's wrong.
No, don't.
He's the Prince of Darkness. I don't want.
Yeah, it's true. So we should wrap it up.
Okay.
So here we have to end it on one of two other things. You either have to do a special skill for me, or we arm wrestle.
Okay. You've got a lot more weight going for you in the arm wrestle.
Jesus Christ! So, and you've been working out though.
Here, let's. All right, I got something.
Okay.
We got to move the mics.
Jesus Christ! Okay.
All right. So
what are you doing?
Just stand up beside me.
I have to do it with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we see this, Ryan?
I've got the nice.
Oh, great.
All right. So you're gonna put your hand.
Okay.
Like yeah, don't like how I'm standing. I want you to stand like that. Like that, okay. And then you're gonna move it around clockwise to see
how far I can go.
Yeah, how far you can go.
Well, that's just kind of creepy. Are you fucking kidding me?
I can probably get it around.
Can you see this? No. Why would you do? How do you even know you can do that? Did you break something?
Once was a magician.
Is that like,
magic?
Is it a magic trick?
Yeah. Takes a lot.
That was awesome.
That was an awesome magic trick because you totally got me.
All right.
All right, freak. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
It was a pleasure to be completely
honest.
Honest. This entire I don't know where I'm going with this. I was trying to be cool and witty, but I can't keep up with this guy. This guy is the best.
Aw. Thanks, buddy.
But I have one request.
Oh,
can I be an animated GIF to the opening scene now? Can we
You'll have a comic. We'll make a comic for you.
Really?
Yeah, everyone gets a comic.
Oh, I obviously didn't do my research.
Fucking asshole. All right, let's go. It's over.